collectively as a group has committed Belize to ensure that we inform the people. The message that we carry is always adding value to the political discourse out there. We never come and bring something that is insignificant into the discourse. The two major parties try to make it insignificant until they realize the public is biting onto it, and then they would bite onto it. So the case in point is the ICJ. The ICJ. We have consistently been saying that is not Belize's only option. It should not be tabled as it is the only option for Belize. Because what we have is the PUP started this thing in 2008 and the UDP continued. Right? So to see the PUP send up their attorneys, Eamon Courtney, who was part of that team that signed the compromise, because I'm getting to this document right here, the infamous compromise. This document has been signed by our executive, and yet Mr. Courtney and Assad Schumann refused to lend credence to the point that we have been making since 2008, that this document is not legal. This is not a legal document until it goes to the legislative arm of government to be ratified like every other treaty that every government signs on to. So the laws of Belize clearly states that any treaty the executive signs on to needs to be taken to the House of Representatives to be validated. All right? So the Senate has to, it goes to the Senate, not to the House of Representatives. It goes to the Senate for ratification. People say the Senate don't rubber stamp, and we say fine, we accept that, it is a rubber stamp. But the law says you should take it there for ratification. It's a given you will get it ratified. However, we wanted to see all the other traitors of this country in that Senate that would vote down the party line to say, yes, let's go to the ICJ when we haven't explored all our options. Now, if you allow me, just a little bit of history. 1991, the Maritime Areas Act was signed, it came into effect 1992. Since 1992, Guatemala have been saying, I want land, I want peace, and I want seas. So when their president at the time, Carlos Salinas, came to Belize, and he negotiated what he thought was sufficient to take back to his Congress, what he took back was only keys in the Ranguana and Zapadilla Key ranges, free use of those, and waters, 9 miles of territorial waters in the south. So instead of Belize claiming its 12 miles, it gave up 9 miles to Guatemala. When the president went back to Guatemala with that, they simply told him that was not enough, and they literally rolled him out the country because they insisted from 92 that they want land and they will settle for nothing less than Mango Down. So they're asking for Sibun Down, knowing that when we go to the ICJ, who was stupid enough to take that step, they will be granting land because Belize have already shown that, oh, we think we deserve something. Keys and seas here. So the ICJ wants to say, come on, Belize. Be realistic. The man they could have get from Sibun down, we just want to give them Monkey River down. That is what we're setting ourselves up to when we haven't even explored our other options. And what are our other options? Well, if we kill this thing at the Senate without getting it ratified, or we kill it at the referendum when it's put to the people in a referendum, it's the same as saying we do not want to go to the ICJ. They're the same results. You have to find some other step to go to. And what is that other step? Well, that other step would find only Guatemala because they're the one claiming our territory. We're not claiming their territory. So we had no need to be pursuing this thing. They're the one that would find the need to now go to the UN Security Council and say, this matter needs to be resolved. Please hear it because the people of Belize now want to take it to the ICJ. We go to the UN Security Council then. The UN Security Council will be mandated by their own charter that gave us independence to ensure whatever it is they determine is a settlement does not include Belize ceding any territory. I want to repeat that again. UN sanctioned independence with territorial integrity intact. So a Security Council at the UN is not about to go and make a conflicting judgment that would allow Belize to cede territory to Guatemala. So let's be real. There are alternatives to going to the ICJ. It is not being discussed now here because the PUP wanted this and the UDP want this, and we may very well face one referendum with both those parties saying, party line, yes to the ICJ. That is what is scary, which is why we felt the need, after what they did to our brother down south, by the will with the BTV attempted to go to Gracias a Dios up the Sarstoon River. Now, not only are we being prevented from going to the Sarstoon Island, but we're being told now that you can't even go up that river. That river is an internal river to Guatemala. Right? Understand that. Their Minister of Foreign Affairs said that is an internal river to Guatemala. The border is on the banks of the Sarstoon River on the Belize side. That is their claim. Now, why would our government continue to build confidence for Guatemala? When they call it confidence building measures, if you really look at it, honestly, all it's doing is building confidence for the Guatemalan claim. So we're saying, why haven't our government taken this thing and internationalized the aggression that we're being faced by the Guatemalan armed forces? We are being aggressed, but if you were to listen to our government, they're not doing any lobbying internationally to say, hey man, them brothers that talk peace and when we got at the ICJ, but then the BP now heading to a big stick. They're telling us we can traverse this territory within our boundaries as we've been knowing it, as I born and know it, the island of we, the midpoint of the channel, the border with Guatemala. All of a sudden, since the 1990s now, they put our military base down there. When did they put that first base? In 2000? It's not that long ago that Guatemala first established one naval presence there. And they've built up and built up and built up, and so 15 years later, they're the only authority down there. And our own Belizeans have learned to respect them as the authority because they don't see our BDF patrolling that area. Brother Greg Chuck told me in confidence, he said when he was doing his Satif expeditions, if he's going to run into any military, it would be Guatemalan military in the Temash, Sarstoon Temash, not Belizean military. So I don't think this is nothing new that is happening, brothers and sisters. There have been one move by Guatemala to assert sovereignty over southern Belize, so that if and when one ruling comes about, they would have already been effectively exercising control over that area. So their Navy is doing what their government position is to show you are the authority there in that area. And we have some spineless leaders that don't understand that for this thing to be internationalized, it may very well take one real incident happening down there. But that's what the army is there for. That's what the army is there for. The army not there to be afraid and not protect the territory. Now if they address our army, now we have this thing internationally. And now they would have lost whatever goodwill they have amassed since 1981. Because the goodwill we had that got us independence have been lost. Guatemala have undermined that, been lobbying the Caribbean and the rest of Central America and getting them to be supporting their cause that England did them wrong. So I say to you here today, brothers and sisters, as I've been saying since that compromise was signed, there is an out. There is an out. The out is for England to compensate Guatemala the way Article 7 in the 1859 Convention stated. That was one compensatory clause. England on two different occasions showed that she acknowledged it as such. But she did not want to pay £70,000 back in 1862. She wanted to pay £50,000. But that is an admission that she needed to compensate Guatemala. Now you come all the way up to the 1940s, and Guatemala was saying, give me 400 million pounds then, and this thing settled. If you don't want to give me that, make I give you 400 million pounds and buy you out of this territory. England refused those options again. But what is that saying, brothers and sisters? That is saying that Guatemala knows darn well that if we go to the ICJ or the UN Security Council and do not allow the ICJ to rule that we see land, the ICJ would be able to say, you know what, Belize Guatemala was done wrong and you need to be compensated. And we figure that £50,000 from 1866 up to today at 6% interest or so much or whatever it is. But that is not being given to the ICJ judges as an option to rule if Belize were to lose. All they are given is you have to cede land if Belize lose. That is crazy when they don't have any authority until we give that to them. So that is why we've been calling for this thing to go to the Senate so that people can input and say, let's amend these clauses so that we allow the judges at the ICJ the option of ruling monetary compensation in the event Belize loses. It's crazy to go with this document pen the way it is, saying that all they can rule is that you get forget land Guatemala if you will. Why would we go ahead with that when there's other avenues to explore? And if they go to the UN Security Council, which is the next step, as I said, after a no to an ICJ, then the UN Security Council would have to do Belize territorial integrity intact. Otherwise, they have to go back to change that convention from 1980. You understand that, brothers and sisters? This is the point where we've been trying to make. So to hear Asad Schumann not even mention the ratification of this document and the options if there's a no to the ICJ. I'm seeing where the PUP has already shifted their position by putting those learned attorneys up there to soften the blow that PUP is no longer no to the ICJ. This new leadership of the PUP has signaled that they will be in favor of going to the ICJ. All right, not get it twisted. And that is why the BPP is here, ringing the alarm, saying that this is bigger than party politics. This is way, way bigger than PUP and UDP now. This is about saving this country before we lose it, and we are in the act of losing it as we are speaking. Now, having said that, I need to quote my chairman. I love this brother with all my heart. They make my job so easy. Thanks, chairman. Thanks. The chairman has a way with words. Belizeans and true friends of Belize, what has transpired is untenable and inexcusable. It has occurred with the full compliance of the powers that be. In that regard, I give mention to both the sitting UDP administration as well as successive governments, including the PUP since 2008. This is, can I say our position, Mr. Chairman? This is our position due to the fact that since the bipartisan support for the signing of the once much vaunted compromise during that year, our nation's territorial integrity has consistently eroded. Now we find ourselves where Belizeans are unable to traverse the Sarstoon River, let alone reach our very own Sarstoon Island. I call shame on our elected officials of either you who have complied with the demands of the Guatemalan government. What we are witnessing is the manifestation of the PIS 4 PUDP 4A policy of appeasement, acquiescence, accommodation, and adherence. The operative question is, what shall our people do about it? Belizeans must not only demonstrate or discuss via action, but it is imperative that we also hold all elected officials who through their own willful negligence have allowed this travesty to occur. The immediate principles that come to mind include the Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Minister of National Security, and all subordinate ministers of state who have acted in consort with these individuals, spanning both the UDP and the PUP. For in our mind, they are all culpable. In keeping with the reality of collective responsibility, the PM's entire cabinet should also be held accountable as well. We call on civil societies and the unions to do their part in such effort. For today, it is not only the Sarstoon Island, but also access to our very own Sarstoon River. Tomorrow, it may be an outlying area near you. Mr. Chairman, thanks for your work.